Hi, this is Camille Keaton of I Spit on Your Grave, and you're listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome back to the station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm still Nasty Neil.
And I remain Terrible Troy.
Mm-hmm. And now we're joined by Maria Olsen. She's got a couple Christmas horror movies out we're going to talk about, and tons of other movies. This is going to be very cool. It's good to have you here.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil. This is awesome.
Good, very good. So where should we start? First of all, I saw both your Krampus movie and All the Creatures Were Stirring. And people know I have a soft spot for Christmas horror, but All the Creatures Were Stirring, really fun Christmas horror movie.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Actually, I think my favorite picture has to do with actors on stage and reindeer horns and red ribbons. But yes, I'm not going to be too specific for the people who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. If people know, it's the anthology. And I always like when the anthologies have, the wraparound story that connects them all, because that in itself is fun, which is very part of. And you have very interesting hairdo in the movie.
It took about an hour to get it done like that. Then we sprayed the shit out of it to keep it like that. And I had a really, really difficult time washing all the spray out of it and getting it back to normal. But it looks, wow. It looks like something else on screen. Wow.
Yes. So it's not a hairdo you ever wear, around town or anything?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. No, and I've worn a lot of hairdos and hair colors. Yes.
Yeah. I like the whole wardrobe is very interesting.
The boots were mine, but everything else belonged to the production. But yeah, she wanted me in boots, and we had a couple choices, but those ones were mine, so I went with those.
So how did you get involved in the movie? Did you know any of the people that were making it?
Oh, yeah. I was Facebook friends with Rebecca for several years, actually, before one day she messaged me, and she was like, hey, would you like to do this role? And I'm like, absolutely. Just sign my name on the dotted line. I'm there. Then when I went to, we had a fitting, and I don't know what happened, but I actually ended up standing outside her house on the street for an hour saying, is this the right house? Texting, is this the right house? This looks like the right house, but it might not be. So it might be a serial killer. So I'm just going to stand here outside for an hour. But everything was fine.
Yeah. What was it about the house that didn't make it seem right?
It was dark. Yes. It was dark, and there was no one coming in and out, and that was okay. I thought maybe there was people here or something. Hi, yeah. And I'm notorious. Yeah.
No, you go on. You're notorious.
No, for not being able to find house numbers or building numbers in Los Angeles. So this was probably just another casualty of me not being able to find a house number. Yeah.
Right. It was cool because there's a lot of little cameos in it. I remember Mike Mendez, director and former guest on the show, was sitting in the back of the theater. I was like, hey, that's Mike Mendez. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you'll never know when people are going to pop up sometimes.
Yeah. And it's on Shudder, which Shudder is really becoming this great channel with Joe Bob's going to be weekly, and we got Tales from the Creep Show coming on, and a really cool made for Netflix, made for a Shudder stuff, and then all the old stuff, and just it's becoming a really great channel for $5 a month.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
becoming a real player, I think. Yeah. I got a Shudder subscription through my Amazon subscription, and it's really great to see all the films that I can find there. I watch a lot of horror, and I watch across 3 different platforms. And I get DVDs as well, for the more obscure stuff that's not streaming. So I really, really value the platform. It's really awesome.
Mm-hmm. How is streaming and sites like Shudder and Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, all these? How does that affect your career?
how does that affect my career? I really just think that opens up more places for indie filmmakers to get their films out there. I think I'm really enjoying the proliferation of online platforms because, I mean, let's face it, the smaller, even medium budget indies are never going to come up with enough money to get a theatrical run. You know, sometimes some of them get maybe 10 days or 2 weeks in 5 theaters or whatever, but a lot of them don't even see ever the inside of a theater. So, because it's just too expensive. So the more online legit platforms that there are, I think the better, because it's encouraging people to make stuff, and it's an outlet for them to get their stuff seen. Just as a companion to that, the illegitimate sites, the piracy sites, I want to hunt them down and kill them, because I can see how it is affecting not only the indie world but also the studio-based world. I mean, we saw what happened to the Ash versus the Evil Dead series. You know, piracy killed that.
Yeah.
And I am very vocal against piracy wherever I see it happening or people talking about it online or whatever. I'm like, dude, just don't steal. And
Yeah, I agree. It's really weird because there's like people who don't even see it as anything wrong. Like some people will get like mad at you if you say anything. And it's like, I think they just see it as a cheaper way of getting something. It's odd. I don't know. Understand the mentality.
You know, if they get mad at you, that means that they're feeling guilty on some level. But if they just look at you and say, "What? I don't understand the issue," then there's your problem. You know, a film, just because you can see it online at the touch of a button, seems to have less value than something real and physical you can hold in your hand. I mean, you would never go out and just take a book from Barnes & Noble or just take a hamburger from McDonald's, because unless you're like not well in the head, you have to shell out some dollars for it, you know. But a film is, oh, look, I can just go to this website and click, and I don't see anyone getting hurt. I don't see anyone yelling at me while I'm running away eating my hamburger. It's a victimless crime, therefore, but it isn't. And it just takes a bit of explanation to make it apparent how it affects people and indie filmmakers and everyone really in the industry, you know?
And sometimes it's people you never expect it from. You know, like normally, you know, like pretty honest people, and they don't see like the harm in that. And it's always strange to me. Yeah.
And also, I've seen it's a sort of a result of our instant gratification society, as in, okay, Bumblebee's coming out. I want to see it now. I don't want to wait for 2 months until it comes to DVD or whatever it is. I want to see it now. And it's Fox or whatever studio it is, Marvel. They don't care if I watch this film right now on my laptop. You know? But have enough people doing that, you know, and you won't ever see another Bumblebee film. Not that you'll probably see another one anyway, but okay.
Well, I personally probably won't see the first one, but yeah.
No. Yeah. That's another story.
I've never seen a Transformer film.
I saw the first one, and I've never watched another one. I like the cartoon as a kid, but the
old cartoon was great.
Yeah.
Even the old animated movie was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I really liked it. Yeah. But and I tried to watch the G.I. Joe movie. I couldn't finish it.
Oh, the one with what's your face, Demi Moore, like a long time ago? No, wait, I'm getting so confused.
I think that's G.I. Jane. But that's
G.I. Jane. Yes, there we go.
This is based off the toys. I played with the kids, so I was kind of excited about the movie. But wow,
little did you know.
Right. So you said about you watch a lot of horror stuff. So were you a horror movie fan before you started to act?
Oh, absolutely. I distinctly remember like snuggling in bed with my mom when I was like 5 years old, and we were looking at a Dracula magazine of all kinds of things. And talking about Dracula movies when I was that young, and it was something my mother obviously enjoyed. So she instilled that enjoyment in me when I was, tiny little child. And it just stayed with me my whole life. I still have my Fangoria collection from like when I was 8 years old or something, which is a long time ago now. And there were a couple movies that might have just frightened me a little bit, but I never get scared from them because I used to read the making of articles in Fangoria, and I was like, oh, so that's how Reagan's head turned around and whatever, Yeah, so I understood them at a nuts and bolts level. So I never got frightened because I knew it was all just a special effect, and I was interested in how they were made. And I'm also interested in how they reflect society's continual quest to explore the unknown, So it's the psychological and the practical aspect of horror movies that really grabs me.
The similar thing is Troy's my older brother, and so a single mom, and she would take Troy and his friends to the drive-in, and they would instead of getting a babysitter, take me along. And so I remember watching like the Night of the Living Dead at the drive-in when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I same way. I never not to be a tough guy, just because I watched them my whole life, so not really scared of them, but just loving them. Except for Magic. Magic, the trailer always scared me. The movie Magic. With the ventriloquist dummy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just the ads would just scare the shit out of Neil when he was a little kid.
Yeah, that's because we had a ventriloquist dummy in the house.
That would explain it.
Right.
Yes. So,
what were some of the movies that you liked and made you want to be in them?
It crosses genres. It's not only horror, although I remember very, very clearly watching the Dracula with Frank Langella.
Oh, that's the
when
best
I was about
one.
12.
That's my favorite one.
Yes, I love it. It's absolutely brilliant. And some of the images from that film have just stayed in my mind forever. Like when they open up the coffin and they find Dracula and Mina next to him. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool,
Oh, yeah.
I also remember later on it was Bram Stoker's Dracula as well. I found that one irresistibly beautiful. That film and Interview with the Vampire as well. I loved it. I loved that one for its visuals. It's just sheer beauty on screen as well. Although I will argue to this day that Antonio Banderas was miscast as Armand, but that's a whole nother discussion. I remember a film. It was a 60s Hammer horror called Horrible House of Horror. Oh, Google is my friend.
I was just doing the same thing. Is it
a Christopher Lee one or
The Haunted House of Horror?
Okay.
I think.
I see House. Let's see here. I see Dr. Terror's House of Horror.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think that was one of the anthology ones, right?
It says here, it's a 1969 British film, teen slasher starring Frankie Avalon, of all people, also known as Horror House in the Dark. Yeah, that I watched when I was about 9, and I was fascinated by this whole thing. So I'm not going to watch that one again because I'm sure it'll just destroy my memories of it entirely.
Yeah, you can't go back sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't remember that one, though. I'm going to have to look for that one.
Yeah, cheesy, campy 60s. There you go. Yeah. And of course, the original Omen trilogy, which I love, the middle one especially. The original Amityville Horror, Rosemary's Baby. I was just becoming aware of films and horror right about the time all those films were coming out. And so, Exorcist as well, so they very much fascinated me, and still, I think those are among the like stalwarts of the horror genre. It's just this very creepy, demon-centric bunch of films that we have. I think the late 70s, early 80s, and that are amazing.
Yeah, I think Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist. I think both those are like perfect movies.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah. This Halloween, I worked for Warner Brothers at their Horror Made Here Halloween thing. And I was in the Exorcist house, which wasn't a maze. It was a, excuse me, we saw a summary of the film, and then there was all kinds of special effects and things happening while we were watching the film. And just to watch the film and see things that you've never seen before and picked up before, it was just really, really amazing. Like the color scheme, for instance. When you just watch the film, you don't pick up that the color scheme of several things are the same, and you'll see the blues and the yellows and the greens repeated throughout the film. And it's like, okay, all of this stuff is there, but you just don't notice it because you're too busy looking at the demon or Pazuzu or the head turn. Like when Father Merrick comes in the house for the first time, the demon moans and screams. Actually, the demon is saying Merrick. If you listen to it carefully, every time the demon yells, it's actually saying Merrick. There's so much in the film that you just don't realize. You know, from a casual viewing, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, I feel that way when if you see a movie on the big screen, if you've seen it a lot of times, and especially like the older movies you mentioned, you notice a lot more because you're not distracted by anything because it's right there in front of you in the theater. And The Exorcist, in particular, when you're saying about noticing different things, when I went to see it not that long ago at the theater, I noticed like at the beginning there's a lot of things that would be considered like sins, but I think more normal people wouldn't. Like there's a Ouija board. The mother's like a single mother, and just things like out of wedlock and stuff. And I just thought, there's like hints of why the demon's coming, and it's stuff that maybe people forgot. They're no longer sins in like a modern society. It's just a lot of little things there that adds to the movie, even if it's like it doesn't. If you don't even really necessarily see it while you're watching it.
Yeah, it's a great film with many, many layers, and I really should actually watch it some more and just plug my brain in some more.
And I'll say I like that the devil is very vile in the movie. He's not like, he has funny lines, but it's not like something that you would want to like everything about him. Like it's, physically.
He's not like the cool devil, right?
No, everything is like physically gross. He's, horrible. It's everything's perverse about the devil in the movie.
Yeah. Very good film.
Yeah.
I sort of miss films on that level. I don't know. We're seeing a resurgence of horror, and there are quite some modern classics, that will stay foremost in our mind in the genre for, I think, years to come. But I'm not sure if we've approached the level of films like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby yet.
Yeah, I agree. I always think like this hot. Even though there's a lot of exorcism movies, like to me, none of them live up to The Exorcist. So it's always hard to do another Exorcist movie, I think.
Very much so.
Yeah, even though there's a whole bunch of them. It's weird though. Even though I don't think any of them even, match like a lot of like the visuals of the movie, and so many years later.
Wow, that's true. Yeah, because if you watch an exorcism movie these days, know it's going to happen.
Right.
There was one interesting one that I watched not so long ago. Of course, I don't remember its title right now. But it touched on something that I had not seen previously, and that was where the person's soul goes to while they're being possessed. That to me was an interesting concept. Yeah.
Yeah, and might be the same movie because they also, which I didn't know about, it was a recent one that like if the priest doesn't succeed, like their soul's damned.
Wow.
Which I guess that's like a real thing of of exorcisms.
Wow.
It was we had the people on, Troy. What was it called? It was the Song of Solomon.
Oh yeah, yep.
Oh, I want to see that. I haven't seen it yet. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. It's really intense.
Good. I like intense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was going to mention the other Christmas horror movie out is Krampus Origins, and I'm a big fan of Krampus. Interesting because the last few years Krampus has really grown in popularity.
Yeah, there are a lot of Krampus films out there now. It's like you turn around a corner and there's another Krampus.
Yeah. I think it was 7 years ago we did a video and I played Krampus. And so I want to take credit for the rise of Krampus.
The resurgence.
Exactly.
Now, if somebody can do it for poor Black Pete, you don't see Black Pete anywhere.
Only Black Phillip.
No, that's true. Yeah, Black Phillip. So, did you have you ever played a nun before or known any nuns?
Oh, yes. Actually, I was in a stage version of. Obviously a stage version of The Sound of Music where I played a nun.
Oh, nice.
Yes, a singing nun, yeah. And there was also a short film that I was doing with Jason Bognacki, who was director, producer, writer, etc. of Mark of the Witch. But unfortunately, his computer crashed and all the footage on his hard drive was lost.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was a vampire nun, which was going to be like really, really cool, but that one has gone away, unfortunately, and will not be coming back. In Mark of the Witch, I was pictured as a nun. There's a picture of me as a nun, but I wasn't the nun character in the actual film, but then I was a nun all the time, all day, all night on Krampus Origins. Yes, that was a very interesting and fun shoot. We were all in Globe, Arizona, the old train station there, which we proved was haunted because we have pictures showing ghosts. Yes, we do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we had a, 2-3 week long shoot there, and we were pulling 18-hour days. So it was a bit of an intense shoot there, yeah. But I think the movie looks lovely.
It does.
Very, very true to the original script. Everyone turns in a really good performance, I think. Especially our ingenue lead, Katie Peabody, who's my very close friend. I was so pleased to be working with her again. And I just had a wonderful time. I was just like, yeah, I've got like 102 lines, but what the hell? I'll be fine. I'll just wear the penguin outfit the whole day and try not to fall down the steps, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta hear about the ghosts. Where did you guys see the ghosts?
Our hair and makeup lady actually was standing outside the train station taking random pictures of the front of the station. And when she was looking at them again, she was like, hey, look through this window. What is this thing in this window that's like standing behind the window inside the building? And we all looked at it. We couldn't figure out what it was. We looked in the actual building. Nothing inside the building looked like what she had caught on her picture, which looked like someone standing there. So we were all convinced, okay, this place is obviously haunted, and look at that, you just got it on film. So that was like the talk of the entire shoot, because we were now convinced this place was haunted. We had evidence, and, you know, sometimes some of the kids, and there were young kids on that show, didn't want to be, like, alone or some of the older kids, like grown-up kids, didn't want to be alone there either. It added a bit of flavor and interest to the shoot, you know. It's always fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have any, have you ever had previous experience with ghosts or believe in them or any thoughts on them?
Yes, absolutely. I've actually shot in several haunted places and had weird stuff happen to us. I've shot at Linda Vista Hospital several times. I did see something vaguely weird in the air while I was waiting for my cue in one of the side rooms at Linda Vista. And of course, there are some creepy rooms at Linda Vista. The morgue, the autopsy room, both of which I've been in, I've shot in.
Wow.
And yeah, there was this weird room where people had just like drawn eyes and faces and things on the wall. Now, I have no idea if that was some nutcase or if that was a film crew. But it just felt really weird. I've also shot in the old state hospital, which is about a mile or two away from Linda Vista, actually. We were shooting Lost Time, a science fiction film that I'm in. And we were shooting just on the 5th and the 4th floors. And everything above was like, it was closed off. The elevators couldn't get above the floors that we were shooting on because everything was closed off. There was nobody in there anymore. We were shooting on those 2 floors, and there were a couple, like, hospital employees and whatnot on the floors below us. So imagine my surprise when I went hunting for a bathroom, found it on, I think, the 3rd floor, got in the elevator to get back to the 5th, and it took me straight up to the 13th. It shouldn't have been able to do that. It was closed. It shouldn't have been able to go up there.
Yeah.
So I was standing in the elevator, the door opened, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm not getting out of this thing.
Didn't you just start pushing buttons, get me out?
Yes, pretty much. Pushing buttons and just standing back and going, please, just let me go now. And eventually it closed, and it took me back down to the 5th floor, but no one could tell me how it got up higher than what we were, because it was supposed to be locked. That was the weirdest thing. Then I was shooting out in Topanga. I was co-producing that film, so I was also taking behind-the-scenes shots. I got a whole bunch of shots, beautiful shots, and then same location, 2 seconds later, I take another shot, and suddenly it's filled with orbs. Now, don't tell me this is like fuzz on the lens or something, because, 99 of these shots are perfect, and number 100 is filled with orbs, like in the middle of the run. Like, no. So that one was really weird. And when I was performing Delusion on a really old house in the Adams district, we had a lot of weird things happening there. A lot of weird things. People had, I think, died in that house. Like a long time ago, there was a fire, and I think a child was killed in the fire. In Delusion, we each sort of had our own room, and we were just waiting for it. It's immersive theater, and we wait for the people to come through to our room, and then we do our scene and whatever. But when we were alone in the room, we were alone in the room. So I was laying on my bed between sets, and I felt someone sit down on the bed behind me. So I turned over to speak to them, and you know what? There was no one there. That was weird. I distinctly felt the weight of someone going down on that bed, and nobody. And other people saw a woman walking into the bathroom, and then they were waiting for her to come out because there was no other way out. And they're waiting and waiting, and finally they go in, and there's no one in there. Weird things like that. That house was odd. We had weird atmosphere sometimes. And, of course, with Halloween and people coming in who've had a couple beers or some wine or whatever, it just gets rowdy and weird sometimes. The energy gets a bit wild. But, yeah, a lot of places are a bit off, shall we say. Yeah.
Does that add to the atmosphere of the movie you're making?
Yes, it does. Sometimes. I mean, like, when you're wandering around the basement level of Linda Vista and you're dressed up as, like, a ghoul or a zombie or something like that, you like, terrify people when you meet them in the dark. And you're also, like, scared a little bit. I was walking actually to set in Linda Vista, and I was all by myself. I had a ton of makeup on, and this one person came up to me and she was like, "Are you real?" I don't know what I was going to say, but I was like, yeah, I'm real. Yeah, just an actor. Hi. But it can be creepy, you know. I remember once we were shooting up in Santa Maria. That's about 2 hours out of Los Angeles, in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the night, as usual. And I'm playing this ex-murderer type person. And I don't want to walk from our base camp to the bathrooms because it's dark and it's middle of the night and I'm scared and whatever. And then I remind myself, you know what? You are probably the scariest person in this forest right now.
Yeah, if you're carrying an axe around and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I am the scariest person around. So I was able to go to the bathroom and I was fine. It's like weird how things just affect you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also noticed it was funny because there's an old radio playing in the movie, and I was like, "What is that song?" I know the song, and I realized, oh, it's what they're singing in Jaws. The three guys in the cabin. It's
Mm-hmm.
So that was
in
very
Krampus?
Cool to hear.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
Krampus
cool.
Origins. It was the I guess the original version of the song, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Wow.
It took me a couple minutes to realize what it was.
What is that Spanish ladies or something like that?
Yeah, it's like we want to go home.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That
So it was
is
very
cool. I like that.
Yeah. So what was it like to do like a period movie?
Oh, I've done several, actually. I'm always in terror of falling over my skirt. That happens to me often, actually. In The Remains, that was also a period movie. There they actually put me in one of those huge, big Gibson girl wigs. So you feel very top-heavy when that happens. And I also had period clothing there. It's nice, but it's a little restricting because we're so used to, wear pants or shorts or a skirt you can actually move around in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in these long skirts and things like that, and I can't see the floor that I'm walking on and things like that, which always gives me anxiety. Anyone who knows me and who has worked with me will usually know my first question is, okay, what shoes do I have to wear? Because I have this thing with shoes. I mean, Starry Eyes nearly killed me. They had me in these like 2-3 inch heels, and I'm like, dude, that's so not me. But he's like, yes, you're wearing this. So that was so anxiety inducing. But period clothing, you also act a little differently. You act more restrained, with more authority, more stately, slower, more deliberate in your movements, things like that. I don't know, it's just a thing that comes over me if I'm in period costume with something like the habit that I wore in Krampus Origins. You know, it's just a different way of moving and being in space, sort of thing. It's interesting. Yeah.
So when you were talking about movies that influenced you to become an actor or make movies, a lot of them were vampire movies. Have you had a chance to play a vampire in one that wasn't lost?
No, I don't think I have. No.
Well, you have to.
No, I have not.
At some point in time, you must.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Yes. I've played like 102 zombies and like 67 witches.
And a bunch of nuns.
But never a werewolf and never a vampire in something that finally made it on screen, Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. It's unfortunate. What's it like to play a zombie?
Slow.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, generally covered in a ton of makeup. I don't know if you remember a short-lived series called Death Valley, set in the San Fernando Valley. Drew Daywalt directed some of the episodes, and he got me on as one of the zombies there. One half of my face was covered with prosthetics. I couldn't see out of one of my eyes, and my nose was covered up. And it was a night shoot, and I got a sneezing fit.
Oh, no.
Mm.
And because my nose was covered up, I couldn't wipe it or blow my nose until the poor makeup assistant took off my prosthetic at the end of the night. Yeah. Welcome to prosthetics.
Yeah, the glamorous world of zombies.
The glamorous world. Oh, yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
And
go on, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, you generally wear special effects lenses as well. And I don't mind them. I can put mine in because I've been wearing contact lenses since I was like 16, so I can put them in. Some of them you can see through better than others, and it's the white opaque ones that you cannot see through.
Oh.
Then things get really interesting. Yeah, because, hey, you have no idea where you're going or what you're doing. But the others are fine, just a bit scratchy.
Yeah. How about the prosthetics? What's that experience like to get a lot of prosthetics on?
Again, slow. My longest sitting in the makeup chair for prosthetics was 8 hours.
Wow.
I had to be glued into the prosthetic. Then it was painted on me. I had a bowl cap. I had a wig. I had finger extensions. I had weird teeth. I had special contact lenses. And putting that all on for the first time for that shoot took 8 hours.
Then
insane. We went outside and shot for 40 minutes. And I came back in, and we took 5 hours to get it off.
Oh.
Yeah, it took so long because we were preserving the face prosthetic, and it was a full face prosthetic, like right from the top of my forehead to mid-throat sort of thing. We had to preserve it because we had to use it again and again, you know. Another story about the glamour. On that shoot, they got me goat pupil lenses, which look amazing. And they actually got me the prescription lenses that I need, which was also amazing.
Wow.
But I also have astigmatism, which means if you put a lens on my eye, it drifts a little bit on its axis, okay? So if you have vertical goat pupil lenses, you stick it in my eye, and in a few seconds, it's drifted, and the pupil is no longer vertical. Okay. Now, with that in your mind, and they've put me in 3-inch finger extensions, so I cannot manipulate lenses in my eyes because I can't feel anything. So what we ended up doing was our director yelled, "Action!" Then the assistant makeup lady would come in, stick her finger in my eye, turn the contact lens, and then we would shoot.
Wow.
And we did that for every single scene, for every single take of every single scene.
Oh.
Yes, very, very glamorous job.
Oh, yeah. That's a nightmare right there.
Right? But at least I could see. Yeah, I was happy that I could see.
Yep.
And they didn't lose the footage, hopefully.
No, but it's never come out of post.
Oh, really? Well, sorry to mention that then. Yeah.
The footage is fine. It's just on someone's hard drive.
Yeah. Does that happen a lot? And when it does happen, I assume it must be frustrating.
It's very frustrating. Yeah, it happens quite a lot. There's this one film that I co-produced that I'm also the lead in. It's still stuck in post-production. They need to do some work on effects and sound and color grading and things like that. But I think, given everything, that it might take a very long time for that to happen. It sort of escaped and got into one festival, and I won Best Actress at that festival.
Oh, really?
And
that's good.
every single day, I wonder what else would have happened if that film had got out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, nothing I can do about that, except try not to think about it because it frustrates me too much.
Yeah. I did see you were in I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, and I know that's been like years since it was supposed to come out. I don't think it's come out yet.
It has not. I have it on good authority that it will come out early next year.
Oh, okay.
Where people get confused with this one is that they think it's part of the Sarah Butler franchise, as in a studio film, but it is not. It's an indie film made, produced, written, directed solely by Mayor Zarki and the Zarki family, and they're doing all of their posts in-house. As in, Terry Zarki sat and edited the film with Mayer for about 2 years until Mayer was happy with the cut. You know, that's why it's taking long. It's not a cookie-cutter film going through a studio. It's a very specific indie helmed by almost one man, Mayer. But
it's a direct sequel to the original one, right?
It's a direct sequel to the original with Camille Keaton, our wonderful Jennifer Hill, and Mayer repeats his role as the priest. Terry and Tammy Zarki, they were the kids in the first film. They come back as the grown-up kids. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of new people. Jamie Bernadette, who's freaking amazing in it. Myself, and the boys, Jonathan Pesci, Jeremy Ferdman, Jim Tavare. You know, it's going to be an amazing film, and hopefully we can introduce it to everyone early next year.
All right, yeah. Camille Keaton's been on a few times on the show, and she always brings it up. So I was hoping eventually it would get released. Yeah, but I think it's better to take your time and make sure it's good than just putting out there if it's not how people want it to be.
Yes, exactly. Mayer is being very particular about this film. I know he tried to speak to a whole bunch of distribution companies, but then some of them will say, sure, but we'd like to cut this part or adjust this or change this. And he's like, no, this is my vision. You're not changing it. And if you don't let it out as I want it to be let out, we don't have a deal. So he's very specific with this film. Very.
Yeah. It's weird because you think like those days are over for some reason, that like wanting to cut movies so much, but you hear about it all the time still.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Honestly, I cannot wait for it to get out there. Really.
Yeah. So you mentioned co-producing. Do you do a lot of producing?
I used to, but I don't really anymore. I've taken a step back from producing just to concentrate on the acting. Producing takes up a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of time, and generally you never get paid for it. So I'm rather just concentrating on acting, moving from film to film. That seems to be working for me right now, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm getting to travel a lot. Just got back from South Africa. I traveled 6 or 7 times this year to shoot films in different parts of the country.
Wow.
I'm flying off again on the 3rd to shoot Eminence Hill with the same group of people that did Krampus Origins, Robert Conway, who I love. It'll be my 3rd film with Robert. Very much looking forward to that, very much. So I'm just very, very happy with where I am right now and what I'm doing. And I don't see producing in my immediate future, although never say never, right?
Right. Well, when you travel to places for the movie, do you get to see like the area? Do you take any time to see, to try the food or see what's going on around the area?
Sometimes, if I can, yes. I generally don't have my own transportation there. And sometimes I'm in really out-of-the-way areas, For Beast of Our Fathers with Josh Manning, I was in some small hotel somewhere in the middle of Lisbon, Ohio, if you put me on a road there, I would have lost in 5 seconds and you would never see me again, sort of thing. So when I have off days while I'm shooting away, I generally just stay in my room and work online. But sometimes I'm actually taken sightseeing by the director or producer or whatever, and that is absolutely amazing. When I was shooting Gore Orphanage, for instance, Cody Knotts and Emily Lapisardi used to take me on trips. That was awesome. I love that. More trips. We want more trips.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I'm so very lucky to be able to travel the way I do. So incredibly lucky. I understand that. And it's just the most amazing, wonderful life that's been like given to me as a gift, and I'm endlessly grateful for it.
You're originally from South Africa?
I am, yes. I've been here 14 years in January, yes.
Oh, wow.
So how did you go from, how did you come to America? Was it to be an actor?
It actually wasn't. I met someone online. We got friendly. We got super friendly. Then I came out here on a fiance visa. That relationship has since sort of died a natural death, and we're still friends, but we have moved on. But I'm still here. And it was just blind luck that brought me to Los Angeles. I'd acted on stage and a bit in radio since I was 6 years old. So I was no stranger to acting. But I was very strange to film acting because we didn't have a film industry where I grew up. Not the small town that I grew up in at all. So I was very, very happy to suddenly find myself in Los Angeles and find myself in a place where I was able to start going out for film. Yeah.
So what are the differences once you start to do film acting as opposed to stage acting?
Size of performance, actually. With stage, literally you act for the back row of the theater, no matter if it's a 50-seater or if it's a 500-seater, and I've acted in both. Your performance is much bigger, and you are very aware of the audience, and it's like this reciprocal relationship with the audience the whole time, especially in comedy, as in you give to them, they give back to you, and you adjust your performance to give back to them. In drama or musical, not so much, because their reaction isn't so obvious as in comedy. But with film, the relationship is you and your scene partner. It's not even you and the camera, because you're supposed to act like the camera ain't there, right? So the relationships are much smaller. The performances are much more contained, more subdued. That's not necessarily less powerful, but just smaller. That's the difference. And if you're crossing over from stage to screen like I did, you have to learn that. I mean, it took me a while to figure that out. You don't just go, yes, I'll do this now. No. In my early film auditions, I used to give my performance, think I was fine. And then they used to say, oh, you're theater, aren't you? And I used to take that as a compliment, but actually what they were saying is, oh, you don't know there's a difference between stage acting and screen acting yet. Okay, run along, go play in the traffic. Yeah. But when I figured that out, and I was able to adjust my performance and able to tap into the level of emotionality that I needed when I was on screen, that's when I started booking film. So it's very interesting. There are definite differences. I mean, some, like Elizabeth Taylor, for instance, she was film, purely film, and she was never able to transition to stage. But others can. Julie Andrews was stage, grew up stage, transitioned over to film. It's an interesting game, very interesting.
At the beginning, when we started talking, you mentioned about your mom got you into movies. Is she still alive? Did she get to see you in movies?
No, she passed in 2001.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was 4 years before I even got to Los Angeles. So yeah, she didn't even know I was going to leave. Not that I knew it at that stage at all. Yeah.
So, on your IMDb page, there's tons of stuff there. So what are you working on currently?
Currently, I'm in the middle of shooting a thriller called Fear Binds. We had my first day on Sunday in San Diego, actually, and I'm going to have several further days, probably next year on that. I am off to Arizona on January 3rd for Eminence Hill. I have pickups and further shoots for the apocalyptic thriller Bab and the comedy horror Danny and the Vampire in January. Possibly I will be going back to South Africa in late January, February to shoot a film called Hear No Evil, and also another film that I might do while I'm there. Maybe in March I will go to Pennsylvania to shoot Latent with Polestar Studios. April, I have 2 projects coming up, but I'm not going to tell you what they are right now because I don't know if I can yet.
All right.
And I am attached to several other productions that say they're shooting in spring and summer. In the indie world, you just have to wait and see if it happens. Mm-hmm. Including Death Care, including Where Birds Don't Fly, and several others that are supposed to be happening then, but we'll see when they do happen. But I have a busy year coming up, and I've just come off of a busy year. I've shot 16 features.
Wow.
And they range from still being shot to in post-production to released, like Krampus Origins, to about to go on the festival circuit sort of thing, But yes, I played in 16 features, and I know that because I counted them. And shorts and commercials and whatever else I might have done during the year. So I've had a busy year.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Oh, yeah.
So
you mentioned the most work you've done in a year?
Yes, actually. Number-wise, yes.
Yeah, that just sounds like so much.
It is. Yes. I actually posted it in a Facebook group the other day, and some guy came back to me and said, "No, dude, how can you shoot 16 films a year?" And then I was like, "Okay, I'm a character actress, which means I'm a supporting actress. If I get 3 or 4 days on an indie film, that's what, 75, 80, 90 days a year that I'm shooting, and there's 365 days a year. I can easily do 16. I can do 25, just look me." Yeah, right. So, yeah. That's how.
Yeah. I saw on your Twitter, I have to know what this is from, because you have different pictures of the day, which is very cool. And there's one where you were a tree, and it's very cool makeup.
That time I was a tree, yes.
Yeah.
There I play the demon, I think it's pronounced Eopodian, who knows, from the anthology horror film, The Sunday Night Slaughter, from Ted Payson and an anti-hero production. That is currently in post-production. I'm actually scheduled to do some ADR on it over the next few weeks.
Okay, very cool.
Yes, hopefully that one will come out sometime next year.
Yeah, anthologies have become popular over the last few years, which is cool by me because I love anthology movies. Growing up, Creepshow and Tales from the Crypt and Tales from the Dark Side, all kinds of them.
Yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah,
I think there was Holidays and there was XX and a lot of them out there. Yeah.
Yeah, for current ones. Well, why do you think that is that they've become popular over the last few years?
Maybe because it's easier to make a short than it is a feature. It's easy, digestible chunks sort of thing.
Yeah.
Fine, I will shoot my short film over this weekend. Then I will go into hiding and plot taking over the world with my next short film sort of thing. Instead of, okay, I'm now going to set 3 weeks of my life and everybody else's life aside to do this entire feature.
Yeah.
And find the money to pay for an entire feature instead of finding the money to pay for this weekend short film.
Mm-hmm.
That could possibly be a contributing factor.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned festivals, do you go to many festivals yourself? Do you, and what's it like to see yourself on the big screen with an audience?
It's interesting. My mind is not flattering. I would probably say, oh my God, I look fat or something like that. And then concentrate on looking at the chair in the corner of the screen instead of on me, sort of thing. If the festivals are in Los Angeles, and if I'm not shooting or something, then yes, I will go to them. If the festivals are outside of Los Angeles, it gets very expensive to go. Sometimes $2,000, for everything, flights and transportation and accommodation and tickets and everything. So that's generally not on the menu for me, unfortunately. But if they're here, if they're in LA, yes, I will go unless I'm shooting or auditioning or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How can people follow you online for your social media?
Oh, I'm under every rock. Ha ha ha. You can find me on Twitter at Maria Olsen 66. Find me on Instagram at Maria Olsen 66. Facebook, I have my personal page. I'm maxed out on friends. So either follow me or come say hi on my fan page, which is Maria Olsen fan page. I also have, for the actors you're listening out there and the filmmakers, I have a casting group called the Monster Shares Auditions, where I share audition notices that I find on Facebook. Because, hey, we're all looking for that next audition, aren't we? So people can join me there. People can message me on Facebook anytime. I'm very responsive to messages. Email. My email address is on IMDb. It's like, I'm easy to find. I really am.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, it was awesome to talk to you, and I would love to have you back when some of these movies come out.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Yes, especially I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it, and I'm glad that it's actually coming out, too.
That is good to hear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was never any question. It was just they're going to go through post at their own pace, And we knew that, of course, but you guys don't. Yeah, so I totally get it.
Right. All right, well, thank you for doing this.
It's
been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
thank you for having me. This has been wonderful. Yay.
Excellent.
All right.
This is Emma Dark, director of Season 8 and Salient -10, and you're listening to Without Your Head.